Welcome back to Brewers Lab. I'm Caleb and we're joined with Devin today. Today we are going to be talking about the top 10 most powerful commanders we've gotten throughout 2025. Notably, we are going to be more power focused on this video. We do both the majority casual lists, but we do think we have to focus a little bit on the top end of these commanders, but we are still going to be talking about a ton of casual cards, and you'll also get to see something a little bit new if you are a casual player, because we are going to be talking about the most broken version of these commanders.
Yeah, and I feel like with a lot of these commanders, if you see them at the table, you're definitely the warning lights should be going on for you
Oh
because
yeah.
a lot of these are pretty broken in a way. Some I feel like are kind of like more towards the cedh. You're going to see them more towards the higher end, and there's going to be more casual focus towards the lower end. Doesn't mean they're any more powerful in their different bracket system, but again, all these are pretty powerful. I'm excited to talk about them. We do have some honorable mentions, and did you want to kick it off?
One of my honorable mentions is going to be Toph Hard-Headed Teacher. I think this is the best Landfall commander we've gotten all year, and it just brings something fresh to the Landfall strategy, right? Landfall is a little bit dull. If I think you can agree with that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of been the same thing for years. So the fact that we get a commander that earthbends onto a land and then you can sacrifice that land to generate a ton of value, built correctly, this deck does just do absurd things. The deck I kind of went with is I would with a land aristocrats deck, which just kind of speaks to how unique this commander is. You cast a spell, you earthbend onto that land, and then you can instantly sacrifice that land to an Ashnod's altar. That's going to net you mana, and then the land comes back. And then if you have your Lotus Cobra effects, that's generating you colored mana, and you can kind of get to a scenario where, as long as the majority of the cards in your deck are 3 mana, you can cast whatever you want from your hand from there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny with I just thought about like Gruul Aristocrats. That's kind of funny as just like a new thing itself. I'd never really seen that kind of strategy actually apply. I think like the closest thing is like Wart Mother Raid. I'm trying to remember the exact name. Wart, that makes all
Oh
those like
yeah, yeah.
goblins that you will just probably sacrifice for value. But outside of that, Toph is pretty cool as a new land strategy because it's not necessarily focusing on landfall. It does have some of those synergies there, but it's more focusing on animating those lands to sacrifice, which makes it definitely more of a unique scenario for it.
So that's why I had to get it an honorable mention.
Yeah, for sure. And my honorable mention would actually be Fire Lord Azula, another Avatar: The Last Airbender card. I didn't want to overhype this too much because, for one, it kind of feels like a do nothing card. Caleb and I were talking about this beforehand. That if you don't necessarily have any flash speed cards in your hand, all you're really doing is just not going to actually attack with Fire Lord Azula because you don't want her to die in combat. You might get to the 2 red mana, but at the same time, if you don't have any of those flash speed spells, you're probably going to be not doing much during the turn in your game.
I think the thing about Fire Lord Azula too is it's a do nothing card that's also super scary.
Yeah,
So it puts a target on your back from the start of the game, and they have to save removal for her, because if you do have something in your hand, the something that you do have could just win you the game out of nowhere.
yeah, and that's kind of something I thought about. I mean, in a way, it doesn't necessarily provide you card advantage. I mean, it does provide you a little burst of mana with a firebending too, but you have to go into combat. Somebody might block it, and it might just be over for Azula unless, again, you have some of those effects that protect her. So I feel like that's more of an honorable mention for me. I don't want to give too much recency bias for her, in my opinion. So that's why I have it as an honorable mention.
That because she does seem super broken right now, but she's also new. And as soon as people kind of understand how to play around her, I think we're going to see her lose a little bit of popularity,
Right.
especially in those higher power pods.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last one we had, and we both kind of agreed that
Mhm.
Y'shtola needed some spotlight. We want to
Right.
talk about her because not only does she do something a little bit unique, but her ability to kind of just pop off is insane. I think the most busted part of this, or maybe the most degenerate part of building this card, is if you wanted to build her infect.
That actually sounds pretty disgusting, in fact, but it does make sense because you're dealing the damage. I don't think we see that too much, especially in like Esper color combination where you're doing damage instead of like losing life. I feel like that's more of a black thing, is losing life instead of actually dealing damage.
And anytime you can kind of get more cards in Esper, that's just going to be a super strong control deck. So again, you cast a non-creature spell, she deals damage to each opponent. So once she has a curiosity effect attached to her, you're drawing 3 cards every time you cast one spell. And that's kind of where this deck gets the majority of its
Right.
power. And then again, we're in Esper colors, so it's not hard to tutor up any card with your black tutors. It's not hard to tutor up any of these enchantment cards with the white tutors. And then once you get a curiosity effect on her, the deck is just gasoline and
Yeah.
fire. It explodes.
And that's the funniest part about Y'shtola too, is just like no matter what you do, you're gonna get card advantage. It's funny, like I was like, okay, I'm playing like a deck, I want to go aggressive on the Y'shtola player because they're gaining life. But if they're losing life, they're also gaining that card draw too. I didn't think about that because it's every player, whenever they lose life, they're gonna draw a card. I'm like, shoot, I'm giving them card advantage while I'm attacking them. Y'shtola definitely has a lot of ends as far as a great control commander for sure. At number 10, we have Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier. I was thinking about putting this higher, but I feel like it's better at number 10 because it's not quite cEDH viable, but it's definitely towards those like bracket 3, bracket 4 style decks where it does have a lot of good combos because basically it's a blood artist in the command zone. Yeah, I also do have a little bit of a cold, so like my throat's not feeling too well, so you're actually going to read it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be the reader of this video, so bear with me, guys. We try our best as a green player, but Sephiroth Fabled Soldier is a 3 CMC legendary creature. Whenever he enters or attacks, you get to sacrifice a creature and then draw a card, and then whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life, and if this is the 4th time this ability has resolved, you get to flip him. And once you flip him, he turns into a more insane card advantage engine, and you get an emblem. It says as this creature transforms into Sephiroth, 1 winged angel, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So again, the Blood Artist trigger. And then whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. Again, green player, we do our best to read around here.
And that's the funny part about Sephiroth. All you have to do is have like 1 Edict effect or even like Fleshbag Marauder where when it enters, each player sacrifices a creature. Sephiroth, all it needs is, what is it, 4 creatures for it to die?
Yes, and so you get the Flashback Marauder, and then 3 of your opponent's creatures, boom, flip them over.
Yeah, and then the funny part is you could just sacrifice Sephiroth, 1 winged angel, and then just repeat that loop over again, put him on the battlefield, get 4 creatures that get sacrificed, get another Blood Artist effect on as an emblem. So it is overall very powerful. There's a lot of loops again. Warren Soul Trader, Gravecrawler, you just sacrifice the Gravecrawler, have that treasure token enter the battlefield, return Gravecrawler by sacrificing that token to put it onto the battlefield. And while that's happening, Sephiroth will gain you 1 life each time. So you're not necessarily losing life with the Warren Soul Trader, but all your opponents are going to be drained in the process. And even if it does flip, you're still going to continue that loop over and over again until everybody's dead. The same does apply for Forsaken Miner too, because when you are committing a crime, that Sephiroth is going to be targeting a specific opponent when that happens. So you get to basically go through that same loop over and over again with Forsaken Miner.
Yeah, another broken part about the Forsaken Miner loop is you actually return it from the graveyard, so you're not casting any spells, which doesn't matter for a lot of people, but in the scenario where someone's got a Rhystic Study or something on the battlefield, it just wins without casting any spells, and that is something worth noting.
I actually didn't think about that, honestly.
Oh, dude, it's so but like I was playing a Vivi versus a Forsaken, or not Forsaken, sorry, a Sephiroth before on cEDH, and it's right when everything got released. So Sephiroth, Vivi, we had the whole pod together, and then the fact that I had a Rhystic out and just wasn't able to draw any cards just felt disgusting, bro.
Or even counterspelling it, you can't even counterspell the Forsaken
Yeah, you can't
Miner.
counter. Like, what are you gonna do? Yeah,
that's actually really good. I didn't think about that. So good.
Another thing too is like, what do you do? Remove the Forsaken? Like, you got to exile it. So good luck doing that. And like, is it colors? So another thing, like more on the casual side of the Sephiroth deck,
if you can call it
is
casual.
yeah, if you can call it casual, that's super fair. Is your Indrik Sar loops. I love Indrik Sar loops, so I'm just going to talk about him a little bit because this commander abuses them. Indrik Sar is a 5 CMC legendary creature human wizard, and it says whenever you cast a creature spell, create X 1/1 black thrall creature tokens, where X is the spell's mana value. Then if you have 7 or more, you have to sacrifice him. Now the thing is, you never get to 7 or more, because what you're doing is you're casting a 3 CMC creature, and then you're sacrificing all 3 of those creatures that you generate off of Indrik Sar to something like a Warren Soul Trader, and generating 3 treasure tokens. And then while that's happening, you're triggering Sephiroth, and then hopefully you have something like Liliana Dreadhorde General on the battlefield that says whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Now you're drawing 3 cards as well, and you've essentially generated Mono Black Storm.
Yeah, that's
you're
kind of
casting
funny
creatures.
to think about.
Yeah, you're casting creatures, generating creatures, sacrificing the creatures to generate mana, and then drawing cards equal to the creatures you sacrificed. It's absolutely disgusting if you ever get this off, and you will kind of draw your entire deck while also just draining your opponent's life.
And I know Liliana's kind of expensive, but it's very useful in this kind of strategy where you get the token to sacrifice. You also make each player sacrifice 2 creatures. So that is also very good in the strategy of Sephiroth 2. First of all, I mean, you're really using it just for that first static ability of whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. That does include tokens and non-tokens, so any kind of creature, you get to just draw a card, which is really good. And so I think, yeah, Liliana, even though it is a little expensive, definitely on the better side as far as the top end goes.
I will also say, like, expensive mana cost for sure, but this card used to be like $20-$30, and you could pick it up for like $6 right now,
Oh, that's actually good
which
to
is
know. I actually might pick that
yeah.
up.
Dude, I did. I definitely did. Another card I like to talk about whenever I talk about Sephiroth, just because I think it's disgusting, is Awaken the Erstwhile. It's a 5 CMC sorcery that says each player discards all the cards in their hand, and then you create that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. And then what's really powerful about this is now your opponents have no cards. They get a board of zombies, but we don't really care because we have our,
Right.
aristocrats. We care about creatures dying, so it gives them a whole bunch of creatures that are now going to die. And then we have Sephiroth. So as long as we flip this guy over, we attack, we sacrifice our
Yep.
board of zombies, and now we just get an entire new hand. So essentially, they have no hand, you have all the cards in your hand, and there's a whole board state of creatures to start dying and triggering Sephiroth.
Another way you could break it is basically by using like a damnation or even a toxic deluge. Just make everyone
Oh yeah.
like just destroy their whole board. They don't have cards in their hand or even creatures on the battlefield. And I mean, Sephiroth is a 3/3, I believe. So like, yeah, you could just make it -2/-2 with like a toxic deluge, so that you only have it on the battlefield. A lot of triggers will go off all at once with Sephiroth. So overall, yeah, it's pretty nasty. I mean, we could go on and on with Sephiroth, but I definitely agree. It's probably number 10. I don't think it's going to go any higher, mainly because it does have a lot of combos, but it's limited just in black colors. Like, if it had, like, maybe red or even blue, it would probably be one of the more top-end commanders as far as, like, cedh goes for sure, because Blood Artist is a very well-known broken card that we utilize in a lot of different strategies to sacrifice creatures and just drain the whole entire board.
I agree. Mono black, you got to be glass cannon, and if you don't win
Yeah.
by turn 3, you just don't win.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about Celes. Celes Ruined Knight is a 4 CMC creature, 1 generic, 1 red, 1 white, 1 black, legendary creature, human wizard knight. When she enters the battlefield, you get to discard any number of cards and then draw that many cards +1. And then whenever one or more other creatures you control enters, if one of those creatures entered from the graveyard, you get to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Now, right out of the gate, you can have a lot of fun with this commander and do a lot of fun different shenanigans, but people immediately saw persist and were like, okay, if I have a sack outlet and that creature comes back with a negative counter on it, and then Celes goes ahead and puts a 1/1 counter on that cancels out the negative counter. So she did just instantly become a degenerate commander that just played all the persist creatures, all the sack outlets, and then you just kill everybody with like a murderous red cat.
Right, exactly. And the fact that she has a great ETB along with just doing persist loops is just very dangerous. Of course, there is like the Animate Dead World Gorger or even Abdel Adrian loop where you just animate World Gorger Dragon, and then World Gorger Dragon will exile Animate Dead, and then Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, and World Gorger Dragon will re-enter the battlefield. In that process, essentially, Celes just re-enter the battlefield over and over again, drawing cards and then discarding cards. It's definitely a loop where it's like a double-edged sword where you actually have a great persist option as a commander along with a great ETB too, so that it's like multi-use instead of just like a linear commander. So I like it for that reason.
I definitely agree. And even on the casual side, if you just omit yourself from doing the persist things and the infinite ETBs, this is a really strong
Right.
commander where you just get to copy her ETB with like molten duplication effects, and then she's a strong graveyard deck that reanimates creatures and gets them bigger. So it's got a lot of fun potential on on the casual side, and then it also just is a super busted commander.
Right, and it does make me wonder with like the new Lorwyn Eclipse, we're going to get probably a lot more persist creatures. So
Oh, true.
Celeste is only going to get that much better. There's that one god, I just actually pulled it up on my phone. It's like Eridu, Carrier of the Dawn, and Isilu, Carrier of Twilight. That's the one where each non-token creature you control has persist. That is going
Oh,
to be
wow,
pretty
yeah.
nasty. Yeah, like each creature you control. So that include? That would probably include Celeste, but would that actually loop her? Actually, now I think about it.
Let's see. Whenever one or more other
Oh,
creatures
other
you
creatures.
control
Okay,
enter.
no,
Yeah,
so not
so
her.
dang,
Okay,
dang.
could have just been a one card
Almost,
combo.
bro.
Dang it! Like give her
Dude, that would have
persist
been
and
so
like,
cool.
oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I just barely thought of that. I just thought, oh yeah, Lorwyn is coming out. Then I just looked at that one god that was coming out in that set. Like, oh, does it work with it? But actually, I think it's just good in the deck either way because the
Oh,
other side
100%,
is
yeah.
just convoke your creatures out. So like, that's going to be just good anyways. So I think either
Oh,
way,
White's right.
I'm excited for Lorwyn. That's one I'm definitely going to be excited to like brew around with a lot of different commanders. So yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna destroy that Lauren for sure. The next one we had on our list was Avatar Aang. This was the 5 color
Mhm.
avatar. Its front is 1 red, 1 green, 1 white, 1 blue. He has flying, firebending too, and whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, you get to draw a card. And then if you've done all 4 of these, you get to transform Aang. And then he gives that broken ability wherever he
Yeah.
reduces all of your spells by Wooburg, which the broken part of this is historically in the past, it's only been limited to color pips. They decided F it, just reduce everything by Wooburg here. So as long as it has 1 color pip,
Yeah.
you can go ahead and just cast anything for 5 CMC for free.
Not gonna lie, I actually thought that this was just another one of those kind of effects like what's it called, like Joda, where it just reduces the mana pips instead of just actually like the whole like 5 CMC of a
Oh yeah.
card. That's like where it made it really powerful. I'm like, oh, that actually makes more sense. Okay, never mind. I actually thought this was not going to be as good, but it's actually a lot stronger than I realized on the backside.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the most powerful version of this is literally just bending as much times as
Yeah.
possible, finding Moon Mist, and then like casting Moon Mist, flipping him over, and then going for the win. I did
Yeah.
get trapped. I think I've already talked about this.
Mhm.
I initially got trapped by the first printing of this card by trying to do all of the bending things in one turn.
Right.
But I think at its highest power level, you just put in those cards like Toph that allow you to bend whenever you cast a spell,
Yeah,
and you
that's
just go
disgusting.
off with a ton of card advantage.
Yeah, or even like Katara, where she will just water bend, like give your creatures plus X until in turn. You could just constantly just pay 1 on each time. I mean, your creatures are going to be 1/1s because their base power and toughness are going to be that. But if you're just constantly going to be activating that ability once per time, you're just going to be drawing cards like for 1 mana each time. That's really good too.
Yeah, 1 mana draw card's pretty busted.
Yeah.
And hey, no risk, no reward, right? What are we doing in here?
Yeah, exactly. And we're not going to talk too extensively about Avatar Inc. because we did actually talk about it in one of our first podcasts. So definitely go check that out if you haven't seen it previously. So definitely, it is a powerful commander, but it's a little bit more limited because obviously you have to focus on those bending mechanics. So again, it's still powerful nonetheless.
Another card we're not going to spend too much time on, but we have to mention is Wan Shi
Yeah.
Tong Librarian. This is a legendary creature. It costs X and then 2 blue. It has flying, vigilance, and then addition. Oh, it also has flash. And then whenever it enters, you get to draw X cards, where X is double the or sorry half the number of 1/1 counters on it. And then whenever an opponent searches their library, you get to put a 1/1 counter on Wan Shi Tong, and then you get to draw a card. So
Mhm.
in the context of high power magic, this thing's just
Yeah.
triggering a ton. You're getting a ton of card advantage. And another thing is, it's infinite mana outlet in mono blue, which
Yeah, they
not
decided to
hard
do
to get infinite mana.
that. Well, and that's the funny thing is like a lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, this is the best 99 commander I've ever seen," but this is actually just a really good commander by itself. I know it
Oh
is
yeah.
limited towards like blue, but again, I think it's still extremely strong. The fact that you can just flash in at any time from your command zone, get that card draw whenever people are going to be looking through their library, whether they're fetching, ramping, or even tutoring. All of those options are still just going to be powerful nonetheless. So again, there's a lot of ways you could get infinite mana, like Isochron Scepter loops. So if you use Dramatic Reversal, Isochron Scepter, and if you have enough rocks, you essentially just get infinite mana. Then dump that all into Wan Shi Tong, casting it, and then just win the game from there from that loop. So yeah, I mean that's just one example of like because it's a mana outlet.
To draw your entire library. Another, my favorite one is also like the Valley Flood Caller, just
Yeah,
because it's also a bird, and then you have the banishing knack. But again, we've talked about Wang Shi Tong a ton in our other podcasts, just because they have been Avatar related and
right.
Avatar focused. So if you want a more in depth conversation, that podcast is definitely out there.
Yeah, we're going to be moving along to number 6, and I believe it's Hashaton. And this commander was first, when it was first spoiled, everyone was losing their minds over it. I mean, it's
Oh
still
yeah.
really good. It's still on this list. It's still super powerful. But again, I think it was a little overhyped. I know people were saying this was like the most broken cEDH commander I've ever seen. But then as time went on, it's not as powerful as we thought it is. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. it's going through it's going past interaction. You just discard a card and then just create a token of a copy of a card specifically. But reading into it a little bit more, for one white and one black, it's legendary creature, zombie wizard. Whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 and a blue. If you do, create a tap token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 4/4 black zombie and it has a 1/3 body. So again, you can just discard some big fatties like a Consecrated Sphinx to draw a bunch of cards. It'll be a 4/4. I also like this with like Esper Sentinel too, making an Esper Sentinel just a 4/4, so people are not going to be paying that tax too. So there's a lot of ways to break this. Obviously, just casting a lot of big creatures. I shouldn't say casting, but putting a lot of creatures on the battlefield.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, this guy was hyped to hell. But
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously.
for a good reason.
Yeah,
You discard a card, everybody saw like 4/4 Jin Kataxis, making
yeah.
everybody discard their entire
Yeah.
hand like turn 3
It's
or something.
disgusting.
Because the reality is this guy's only 2 mana. So getting him out was not hard. So turn 2, you get him out. And turn 3, as long as you have your Psychic Frog, your Ghostly Pilferer, your
Yeah.
effects that allow you to discard at instant speed, you were just going to reanimate one of these big baddies.
Hmm.
The thing that did kind of make it awkward was, you are running a lot of these big creatures, and
Hmm.
without those ways to discard those creature cards, it was kind of like,
Right.
okay, I can't do anything without my commander. So it was super commander focused, but at the same time, super broken. So he's definitely
Yeah.
going to make the
And
list.
I feel like this kind of has a similar comparison to Fire Lord Azula, where it's not really going to do anything on the battlefield
Mm.
when you don't have anything in your hand to either discard. So there is that factor, but the fact that Hashaton is 2 mana, you could use your Deadly Relics, your Fierce Guardianships right away almost, makes it a lot more powerful in that aspect compared to Fire Lord Azula, where you could just discard something at instant speed at any time on your opponent's turn. Fire Lord Azula only focuses on the combat. That's very narrow
Mm.
compared to Hashaton. So again, Hashaton having all those interaction points of like, okay, I discard a card, it can't even be countered. I just make a token of it. Makes it extremely powerful still, even though again, it was a little overhyped, but I still think it's pretty powerful nonetheless.
Oh, definitely. Dude, even like a Grand Abolisher, not
Oh yeah.
okay. Our next one is going to be Norman Osborn, but we
Yeah.
don't care about the front side at all, right? Because really, we just care about the Green Goblin. this is our 4 CMC Grixis commander. He has Flying Menace as spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast, which by itself
Yeah.
would be really, really good, right?
Yep.
But also, it says each non-land card in your graveyard has Mayhem. The Mayhem cost is equal to its mana cost,
Yep.
and the Mayhem is you may cast a card from your graveyard for its Mayhem cost if you discarded it this turn. So what's really broken about this is wheels. You
Yeah.
just wheel cards into the graveyard, and then the hardest part about a wheel strategy is the fact that you need to wheel to generate value off of all of your effects like Waste Not, but you probably have wheels in your hand. So you're
Hmm.
wheeling and then you're hoping you're drawing into another wheel. Green Goblin doesn't have that problem. If
Right.
you've got 2 wheels in your hand, you discard one, cast the other one at a discount, and you're doing broken stuff.
Well, and that's the funny part about Green Goblin. I was about to say Norman Osborn, but we don't talk about him. But
No.
Green Goblin, it's basically just an Underworld Breach as a commander, also with a reduced rate of everything that you discard costs 2 less to cast. So even like a Talisman, it's free. Like that's just free mana.
Yeah.
It's just so stupid. Like every time I see like someone discard a bunch of cards, I'm like, oh, 3 of them were talismans. So they basically got a dark ritual, but for like mana rocks. I'm just like, that's just stupidly broken with Norman Osborn.
Yeah, it's one of those commanders that definitely hits like the Corvold threshold, where this
Yeah.
one you can kind of see as we get up in the list. This is one of those cards that it's hard to make casually.
Yeah.
Like even the most fair version of this commander is not okay to
Right.
play against like regular bracket 3 decks.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a bracket 3 Green Goblin, but that's just going to be better than bracket 3 decks because you're playing Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And those are the cards that you're going to start seeing hit this list right here.
Oh yeah, no, it's just very stupid. Just the amount of stuff that you can discard. It's very similar to Hashaton, where you want to discard cards, but I do believe Green Goblin's a little better, mainly because it acts as an Underworld Breach. Hashaton will only reanimate like 1 or 2 creatures depending on how much mana you have, but a cost reducer along with just having to cast anything you discard is just pretty insane.
Yeah, and like don't even start talking about like your frantic searches that untap lands and your Jessica's wills, and then Yeah, no, it's not okay. This is probably
Yeah.
the best breach commander, and also it is just breach in the command zone.
Right. I mean, with some extra steps, but again, it's super
100%.
powerful.
Yeah.
Now that we're going to go to number three, we actually have Vivi Ornitier. A lot of people would actually say that this is probably going to be number one for their a lot of lists because it's pretty disgusting overall. I mean, it's going in casual commander, it's also going in competitive commander. It's kind of going all over the place, and people actually are just getting sick of it. I don't personally care for too much. I know it broke standard with what is it called, Agatha Soul Cauldron, and it just
Oh
got
yeah.
banned. So obviously, it got a little cheaper. I mean, not much cheaper. It's like around $30, but Vivi Ornitier is still really powerful for one blue and red legendary creature wizard. It has a 0 activated ability, which is just kind of silly how it's just 0. Add X mana of any combination of blue or red, where X is Vivi's Ornitier's power. Activate only during your turn and only once each turn. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi Ornitier, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And this is the part where I'm just like, they just did the Nadu all over again. Why did they just keep making these busted commanders like out of nowhere?
Yeah, dude, they're like, let's give Vivi all of this text, and then what if we made it to where it didn't have to tap to add the mana?
And I feel like if there's a way to fix this, I know they tried to fix this on Arena, like they made it a tap ability, but I'm like, that makes it still busted. I'm like,
The problem is you just don't tap it. You know?
yeah,
So it's
you
like
just
it's
dramatic
not
reversal.
okay as a yeah, it's not okay as a tap ability, and it's not okay as what we have right here and only limited it once per turn. Maybe if it's limited to once per turn and a tap ability,
I think a way that I
is
could,
that what they did with
yeah,
Arena? Because
I forgot
that might be a
exactly.
little
I
bit
didn't.
better.
I only knew that they gave it a tap ability. I don't know exactly
Yeah,
what it was. I mean, a way that they could fix this if they gave Vivi prowess instead of just giving a +1/+1 counter, maybe. But even then, like
maybe
storming
yeah.
off one turn is still going to be pretty bonkers with prowess. So I don't know. Like I feel like prowess would have been a lot better than just giving it a straight up 1/1 counter.
Yeah, either way, they are like with Nadu and Vivi, they are just like really trying to see where that line is, and it's getting really, really close. I
Yeah.
mean, this isn't Nadu, but it's like it does something similar. I think what does limit the power of Vivi is one, it's scary.
Yeah.
People are not going to let you untap with Vivi if they have anything to say about it.
Right.
And then she does require those curiosity effects
Mm.
that allow you to keep drawing whenever you're casting spells. Because again, she does the 1 damage thing. You deal 1 damage to each opponent, you draw 3 cards off of curiosity.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's not a reliable way to tutor for them in Is It Colors does kind of make this deck a little bit worse. There are 3 different
Mm.
effects, so you can kind of find them. But the fact that it's a little bit less consistent due to that is going to just make it a little
Right.
bit of a lower power, commander.
Well, and also it does combo off with like dramatic reversal Isochron Scepter by because you're casting the dramatic reversal, and so since you're
Oh, it is a
casting a
cast,
non-creature
yeah.
spell, you're just going to be dealing the 1 damage each opponent each time. So I mean that is an infinite loop where you just burn everyone on the table. So there is ways of comboing with Vivi just because.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you got Hullbreaker Horror, you got the 2 mana rocks, you go back and forth, and then you're casting those non-creature spells, burning everyone out on the table. So it was kind of funny when I first made this commander. I made it as a casual janky dragons commander where I just wanted to
Oh
cast
no.
big dragons because I saw, oh hey, look, he's adding mana and not only for non-creature spells. I want to cast these big spellslinger dragons, but then the more that it went on, the more I realized, oh, that was stupid.
He's just trying to have fun. The man
No,
just wanted to have fun
I
with
just thought it was
dragons.
a cool little guy. I mean, he's still a cool little guy, but just a busted little guy.
Yeah, dude, I did something a little bit similar. I tried to make a fun deck. I was like, okay, so how can we like, have a little bit of fun with Vivi? So I decided mutate. So I would mutate on top of Vivi, no longer legendary, and the mutate creatures would give it instantly power.
Yeah,
So if you mutate a 5 power creature with 4 mana, you kind of net mana,
yeah,
and then you just create a token copy of Vivi, and then that was not okay either. That's not,
right.
and that's what we're talking about. Whenever we go higher up on these cards, it's like harder and harder to generate a fair version of these commanders,
Exactly.
because it's like when someone says bracket 3 Vivi, they're gonna try to win turn
Oh,
5. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
seriously, no kidding.
yeah, it's not gonna be like, this is gonna take 7 turns to go
Yeah.
off, probably. No.
And if this kind of shows anything, we're probably not the best at card evaluation when they first come out, especially me. Like, I was just making a Dragonstorm deck where I cast a couple of spells, then cast the Vivi mana to cast Dragonstorm to get a bunch of dragons out. Again, it was totally janky, but then again, I was not evaluating Vivi right, in my opinion.
Yeah. And sometimes that's okay, right? And I think that's something as like a content creator that it's okay to do. It's okay to
Yeah.
miss a couple, but then at the end of the day, the fact that you're not building whatever everybody else is, that's why the channel survives. So it's
Right.
definitely, yeah,
Exactly. That
100%.
also kind of leads us like talking about like our next subject. We're actually going to be talking about five like commanders that we completely just messed up on, like where we thought, okay, they're going to be casual, but then they turned out to be very high power and like pretty broken in general. So that's going to be our next subject too.
Janky decks that were supposed to be haha funny that were not haha funny and they just turned out being gross.
So yeah, now we're gonna move on to number two, and this was kind of hard because we almost had VV at number two or even at number one, but these are kind of interchangeable, and this kind of shows how powerful Final Fantasy is because like how much Final Fantasy cards are in this list. But we do have Terra Magical Adept. This is seeing a lot of good cedh play. I think you mentioned beforehand, Caleb, that it was like 16% conversion rate or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's got a 16% conversion rate now, which is kind of crazy. That means the odds that you enter a tournament and hit the top 16, which is kind of like fourth place in EDH. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, they track the conversion rates
Right.
to see how good these commanders are performing, and 16% is pretty solid.
Yeah, exactly. And if anything else, this is just a five color food chain commander. I did want to
Oh
read
yeah.
into it a little bit more. So, for one red and green, legendary creature, human wizard warrior. When Terra enters, mill five cards, put up to one enchantment card milled this way into your hand, and also has the trance ability for four red and green. Tap it, exile Terra, then return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. And so it turns into Esper Terra. So it has three different lore chapters for the first one. Create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control. It gains haste. If it's a saga, put up to three lore counters on it. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. And it has a chapter 4 ability. Add two white, two blue, two black, two red, and two green. So basically Wooburg times two. Exile Terra and then return it to the battlefield. So it basically transforms back into Terra Magical Adept. And this commander is quite powerful for a lot of different reasons. It's basically one of the best food chain five color commanders we have, mainly because you could just have it re enter the battlefield over and over again. Find food chain from the graveyard that you milled that way, and then just put it back to your hand. Cast food chain, and if you have a food chain creature, just constantly sacrifice to the food chain and mill your whole entire library and find a win from there from like Thassa's Oracle. Overall, again, very powerful with Terra. I know you have like specific ways of breaking her. That's just the clean, simple way of just using food chain and just winning from there.
There's also like breach, right? Because she mills and then you
Yeah.
return breach back to your hand. And one of the hardest parts about winning with Underworld Breach and cedh can sometimes be getting enough cards in your
Right.
graveyard to exile to kind of just pop off. And then once you find your brain freeze, it's gonna be fine. But getting to that point does require a couple cards, especially with your gamble effects.
Mm-hmm.
I found that this is just super consistent at doing the gamble line because gamble, you have to find your brain freeze, you have to find your lion's eye diamond, and the fact that you already have like four cards in your graveyard, assuming you return breach to your hand,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of helps get you there.
Right.
Another thing with Terra specifically is again, even when you build her casually, she's kind of
Yeah.
just absurd. I did want to talk about I didn't go this route because I think it's a little bit disgusting, but as soon as you clone the backside of her, the saga side, with like a spark double, like a non-legendary copy, you do just get another Terra that instantly goes to the saga and generates a token copy of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then that Terra is going to trigger generating another token copy. So you're essentially going to get hasty Terras that are just infinite amount of hasty Terras, and then you can instantly kill everybody like that. I
Right.
mean, there's a little bit more hoops to jump through, but you do just kind of get there. And then Terra is also going to be featured on our next episode where we talk about lists that went too far
Right.
because I just tried to build a fun, casual, like saga
I get
commander,
it. Yeah.
and and then it ended up just like you could cast your entire library if you got the right pieces on the board. Now, we'll go into that more next week because we just want to talk about kind of the high end here. But I will say, he's built a ton of these commanders. I've built a ton of these
Mm-hmm.
commanders. We're probably going to link a ton of them in the description
Right.
down below. I mean, if you're just finding the channel, that's what we do. We brew
Oh yeah, we
EDH
do it
decks
constantly. Yeah.
constantly. Oh yeah, and I think honestly, we almost do every commander. I won't say every commander every set,
Yeah.
But dude, we're hitting them. We're hitting
Because
them
it's
for
like
sure.
what? How much were for this year? Like 500. I think I read over like 500 commanders. I didn't do all of them, but like I did the most important ones for sure.
Oh yeah, no, dude, there was I didn't realize that till I started researching for this video, but like yeah,
Yeah,
there's like almost 500 commanders this year. It's like, whew.
yeah, it's
But to be
crazy.
fair, a lot of those are just vanilla boring creatures
Right.
that ETB draw a card, discard a card, and has legendary on it for some reason.
Exactly. So we're going to be going to number one after we talked about Terra, and this is another disgusting commander from Final Fantasy, and that's Kefka Court Mage. Pretty disgusting overall, just for the fact that you're making people discard cards. A lot of people had played this for casual, and not a lot of people like discarding their cards in casual. And I
Hmm.
didn't realize at first it was per card type. I thought it was just like, so if you had discarded like an enchantment creature, that is 2 card draw you are going to get instead of just 1. So I misevaluated this card at first, but Kefka Court Mage is seriously powerful and definitely deserves number one, at least in our opinion.
I definitely agree. I did like as soon as this commander came out, I was like, man, this is gonna see cedh play. And you know, you get the backlash.
Yeah,
People compare it to Blue Farm like they always do. But I
right.
think what people missed was the fact that when you discard or when you're causing everybody to discard, you're
Mhm.
taking away their resources.
Right.
So this is a commander that can see very high levels of play that actively strips resources
Mhm.
from your opponents. Another thing that's super strong about this is it fills your graveyard. So we talked about Breach earlier and
Mhm.
needing a certain amount of cards in your graveyard to get there. And Kefka gets you there super fast because what this deck does is not okay. It
Right.
plays Harmonic Prodigy, it plays Roaming Throne, you're doubling up on his trigger, and if you give him haste whenever he enters the battlefield, that turn alone he enters causes everybody to discard a card.
Mhm.
Then you attack and causes them to discard a
Right.
second card.
Ugh.
It's just gross. Displacer Kitten blinks this guy whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and
Mhm.
then he does also like have that backside. It is 8 mana, and
Yeah.
this isn't why you would play him, but it is worth noting
Yeah.
that if the game goes long enough, it says whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, or yeah, during your turn, you draw that many cards, and it's a 5/7 with
Right.
flying.
So it kind of combos off with like Psychosis Crawler too. So I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
again, that is like way too big a mana for like cedh, obviously, because like I
oh
don't think
yeah.
you're ever going to be flipping Kefka in my opinion. But again, it's still really
I
disgusting for
think
that first part.
I think Jessica's will makes you sometimes, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you cast Jessica's will, but the problem is if you cast Jessica's will, you're probably getting there anyway, right?
Right. No.
Like let's be
Exactly.
honest. It's CDH Jessica's will probably just gives you enough mana.
Right.
But I mean maybe the grindy games, mid-range hell, I could kind of, but that's not why you would play Kefka. You play
Yeah.
Kefka because he enters the battlefield, you're getting card advantage while you're taking everybody else's card
Yeah.
advantage away. And the thing is, the card quality is not hurt too much because you're just playing Grixis good cards,
Right.
right?
Well, and that's the funny
And
part
then,
about Kefka too, is just the fact that he does kind of everything you want as a commander. First of all, he denies your opponent's resources, he draws you cards, and also it is a Hullbreaker horror outlet too, because you're discarding everyone's hands basically, and also including your own hand, because if you just draw like, let's just say like 8 cards off of that whole Hullbreaker horror loop, one by one you just discard 1 card you don't need and kind of go back and forth until you drew your whole entire deck and get a best sculpted hand scenario of winning the game too. Basically, like if you just cast Thassa's Oracle right after that, if you have no cards in your library. So again, Kefka, it's a mana outlet, it's a haymaker in the command zone, it's doing everything you want, especially in Grixis color combinations.
yeah, so that's our number one. Let us know in the comments down
Yeah.
below your guys' number one. Don't forget to click on those deck lists down below if you're interested in any of these commanders. And yeah, you got anything?
Oh no, I mean, I feel like all these commanders are definitely deserving on the top spot. Again, we kind of went from like high power to cedh because I don't think every individual card that we talked about is going to be cedh viable.
I think there is just something I call the Corvold level, and the
Yeah.
Corvold level is what I consider a commander that's just almost not able to play casually because
Right.
Corvold 99 lands still draws you a shit ton of cards, right?
Right.
So even like the most innocent version of that deck is hard to
Right.
play at a casual level. And I think we got a lot of those this year
Yeah.
with your Kefkas, your Vivis,
Mhm.
there's a lot of these cards that you just can't bring to a table and be like, "Don't worry guys, it's not that deck." It's like
Yeah.
it
No,
is
it
that
is.
commander. It is that yeah, even like a Hashaton, like someone rolls up with a bracket 3 Hashaton, you're like,
No.
Am I gonna get Jin-Gitaxias turn 3? Like, what's happening
Yeah,
here?
Jin-Gitaxias is not a well, it's not a game changer anymore. So technically, you can just
Yeah.
roll up with a Hashaton list with Jin-Gitaxias.
Bracket 2 Hashaton. You guys have no hand. It's gonna take me like 7 turns to get there.
Yeah, again, thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video. Definitely subscribe because we're definitely a new channel. We want to make this grow, and we always
Mm.
just want to have fun, casual conversations. We don't want to make these super scripted for you guys because we just want to have a genuine conversation about these commanders. So definitely subscribe and stay tuned, and we're going to be coming out with videos basically every Saturday. So yeah, definitely come by, and I guess that's it.
See you
See ya.
guys.